Well, as we have said on numerous occasions, Meatloaf sang it very, very well.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Bingo. Producer John not going to be with us this particular weekend, but Matt Nicholson and I will muddle on as best as we possibly can because, well, you know, it's kind of what we do.
All we can do.
That's right. Exactly. So appreciate you joining us. Plenty to get to on this weekend show. And how many times have we said this? I can't express this enough. We often find that there are more things to talk about during the quote-unquote off-season than there are during the regular season. It's strange how the news happens to break that way. We don't know why, but that's how it works.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Busch has gone from Joe Gibbs Racing, another high-profile driver within that division, has his contract up in 2023. What's he going to be doing? And I got to admit, I can't be the only one, truth be told, who misses Speed Vision and or the Speed Channel. Look at it however which way you want to look at it. Well, guess what? We might actually have something for you. We're going to talk Five Flag Speedway from Pensacola because they had the Snowball Derby last weekend and some big news from the dirt racing world. And I know that's something we don't normally cover, but this is too big for us not to cover. NASCAR, Formula One, Indycar, NHRA, Formula E, we got it all on this weekend's edition of the Championship Racing Network. We will be right back.
We'll be right back. We're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Steve West and Matt Nicholson along with you this weekend. Our friend, producer John Meyer, brother John, he's dealing with some family things this weekend. Should be back with us next weekend.
Gotcha.
And we're working on some possibilities next weekend. Whether or not this all comes together or not, we don't know.
If it does come together, it's going to be really fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. We were kind of hoping it was very, very short notice, and if producer John had been able to be with us today, we would have been on location, you and I.
Yeah.
We would have been at Talladega because Talladega's got another one of your take your car out onto the track weekend.
Sorry, Jenna.
Yeah, sorry, Jenna. We couldn't be there. If, like I said, if producer John had been here, we would have been able to handle it.
Yeah.
With John planning on being here next weekend, we might be able to do our show live from Barber Motorsports Park.
Maybe so.
Because they have a charitable ride going on there next weekend. This is for special needs kids, and there are some people out there that are running some pretty interesting cars. And we're talking not just Corvettes, we're talking higher. We're talking McLarens, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, big-time sports cars. And these guys take the time, donate their time and their cars to take these special needs kids out onto the track so that they can have a great time.
Yep.
Plus, there are a lot of other events that go on for this. It's a really, really cool thing that Barber Motorsports Park puts on. So hopefully we're going to be able to be out there. If not, if we have to be here at the headquarters in the flagship next weekend, we'll certainly give them a lot of press and publicity because, you know, it's such a cool thing.
Oh, it is.
It really is.
It is.
It's a great thing, and we appreciate all that they do. And, well, truth be told, we've been looking to have that in at Barber Motorsports Park anyway. So,
I know a few others that have
kind of self-serving.
Yep.
So, yeah, so that's kind of the plans there. And, again, kind of recapping what we just said at the tease. We got a lot to get to today because, again, a whole lot of stuff happens during the off season.
It does.
And it was kind of slow right after Thanksgiving, but now it's picking up because Thanksgiving is a uniquely American holiday.
Right.
Okay, so we had a lot more overseas stuff, Formula One, Formula E, than we did here in the United States. But now we've got a couple of worldwide holidays coming up here with Christmas and New Year's, and that means everything's going to be really, really slow at about that time, we think. So they're all trying to get in all that stuff now. Mm-hmm. Well, first things first. Let's get to a race recap, shall we? No major series race last weekend, but there was a major race down in Pensacola at Five Flag Speedway. They got in the prestigious late model race called the Snowball Derby. Race started with NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Josh Berry on the pole, but he got quickly overtaken by the driver who has finished second in this race the previous 2 years. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, huh? After leading, and this is amazing, he led a total of 539 combined laps between these two races and just missed out on winning both times. The driver we're talking about, two-time ARCA Menards West Series champion Derek Thorne. Thorne driving for Campbell Motorsports last weekend. Was kind of like feeling a whole lot of deja vu, leading the majority of the race. But then all of a sudden, as we have seen, I don't even know how many times.
Yeah.
As you get late in the race, you start getting multiple late race cautions because the anxiety picks up and everyone's saying, now's the time that I got to go grab what I can grab.
Yeah, that times 10.
Exactly. Well, he was able to hold the field at bay, claimed his first ever Snowball Derby title, led an impressive 307 of 318 laps contested. Stephen Nass finished second, trailed by Sammy Smith, Casey Roderick, and Cole Butcher in the top five. Some other notable names where they finished: William Byron finished 6th, Ty Majeski 10th, Derek Kraus 19th, Noah Gragson, not a great day for Noah, 20th. Josh Berry got involved in a crash. He was credited officially with 25th. Corey Heim 28th. Eric Jones, former champion of the Snowball Derby, bad day for him, 30th. But the worst day was probably for Brad Keselowski because he even failed to qualify for the Derby.
Yeah, as the saying goes, nobody's immune to the Derby. You don't get a free pass.
No. And you and I have been there a couple of times.
Yep.
We've seen this race a couple of times. Five Flag Speedway is not what anyone would call an easy track.
Nope.
It's a pretty challenging track. If you're familiar, it's high banked, kind of like Nashville Fairgrounds.
I would say Five Flags.
That's not really the track I'm thinking of, though, that it's equivalent to. Five Flags is...
Let's see. What would it be equivalent to? Not Nashville.
No.
I think it has some similarities to Mobile.
Okay.
Some.
All right.
ones that never seen it, Five Flags is probably the banking's probably.
I say it's about 25, 26, I think.
No, it's not that steep.
Is it not?
No.
Thought it was somewhere in that
Five Flags
area. Yeah.
La, 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 la.
And on top of that, it's been a while since Five Flags has been repaved, so you got that aging asphalt track going on there, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. And it's what we talked about for the last couple of years before Atlanta did that whole repave. The drivers like the age, like the personality of the track. Pensacola, I don't think has any. I wouldn't think anyway has any plans to repave that track anytime too soon. But either way, it's a challenging track. It's not the easiest track out there in the world, and that's why these guys love going to this facility.
15 degrees.
15 degrees. Wow. Okay, it's deceptive.
Yeah, it's deceptive. I walked on it on foot, and it's very deceptive.
Yeah.
But it has some similarities to Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really in a league of its own. Yeah,
I mean, I'm having a hard time trying to equate it to a track that is anywhere on the NASCAR circuit of any of the top three series, and it's really not. It's this weird kind of combination of several different tracks, just to be real. But it's such a cool track. And again, if you've never been there, they've got a great facility there.
Oh, no doubt.
It's an amazing facility for being a track that they ever been on the NASCAR circuit?
They've ran
ARCA.
They've ran ARCA and K&N down there, which has been now the same thing. But,
but they haven't gone as far as trucks. So, which is kind of a shame because this is a facility that could easily handle that.
Oh, for sure.
You could easily handle the truck.
I agree.
Series.
And I know Chi-Town Mark's watching, but I read something somewhere that I think this was the final race for Campbell Motorsports.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good way to say you went out on top.
No doubt about it. Congratulations once again out to Derek Thorne, who has finally claimed, after a couple of second-place finishes, his first ever Snowball Derby title. I know that he's happy about it, and, we'll have to see what that launches him into. I mean, I know Derek Thorne's, again, well on his way. And how many times have we said this? This is a race that opens up the eyeballs of the people up in the NASCAR level. I mean, you want to know how Eric Jones got up into the Cup Series? It's because he beat Kyle Busch in this race.
Oh, yeah.
And that made Kyle go, you know what? I probably ought to sign this kid. All right. Here we go. Let's get into it. Cup Series news is where we're going to begin. And with a successful race team underway, wins under their belt to boot, what does the owner of 2311 Racing do when his contract with Joe Gibbs Racing ends after the 2023 season? Yeah, that's right. We're talking about Denny Hamlin. This week he was asked about that. Said he actually would like to continue racing for Joe Gibbs Racing for a little while longer. Stated in the interview that both his and the contract with his longtime sponsor, really the sponsor that he's so well associated with because they have been his primary sponsor since he first signed on to drive that 11-car Federal Express. Those two contracts come to an end after this coming up season. Hamlin said, quote, certainly I've always wanted to finish my career at JGR, and I'm optimistic that'll be the case. It does seem strange because you and I were talking about this.
Right.
With his possibility of leaving, Toyota obviously wants to keep him, but with his contract to Joe Gibbs Racing effectively coming to an end at the end of 2023, this would have been, we thought, the perfect opportunity for he and Michael Jordan to begin to field that third team, put the established Denny Hamlin in there, maybe not get Federal Express to move along with him. That's another story altogether. It's not like Michael Jordan has a hard time getting sponsors. But run that third car out there. I don't even know what number it might be.
32.
Could be 32, although that's not really a number that Michael Jordan's that well affiliated with. I was trying to think if you combined 45 and 23, that's 68.
I don't see that happening.
See that necessarily. I mean, we've seen variations on that.
Seen crazier.
Yeah, we've seen variations on that. I can't remember what the name of the team was, but the team that Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach started.
Hall of Fame Racing.
Hall of Fame Racing, thank you. What they did was they took their jersey numbers, Roger Staubach's 12 and Troy Aikman's 8, and they multiplied and came about 36. So I've seen stranger ways of coming up with a number.
Yeah. I mean, from a manufacturer standpoint, Toyota can't afford to lose it.
No. But I think Toyota would be just as happy if they started a third car at 2311 as if he stayed in the 11.
Which I could see that happening if he doesn't, because we've seen Joe Gibbs Racing do dumber stuff.
Oh, sure.
CC Kyle Busch.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think David Wilson would let that happen.
What, leave Joe Gibbs?
No, David Wilson, president of TRD, would even let that happen. Let another driver slip out of the way. Because think about this right here. Here is a list that somebody, and it's the perfect definition here.
Okay.
Drivers Toyota lost this offseason.
Ooh. Would you like the whole list or just the top 10?
Kyle Busch, we know.
Which is the big one. That's the flagship.
Kurt Busch. Brandon Jones. Chandler Smith. Christian Eckes.
These are a couple, and
that's a little foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing there. These are up and coming drivers.
Chase Purdy.
Oof.
And apparently the way it's looking, nothing's confirmed. Let me stress that.
Okay.
Possibility losing Ben Rhodes and Matt Crafton.
Yeah. There's a...
And Ty Majeski.
There are rumors that are floating out there that seem to have too much smoke for there not to be fire.
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
Yeah.
We'll just put it that way. Again, that's foreshadowing coming up a little bit later on.
And here's what they gained. Tyler Reddick.
Right. Which is not shabby.
I would say the pendulum swing rebalancing out. He would balance it out a little bit more to Kurt Busch's side, a little bit heavier towards Kurt Busch.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner and Taylor Gray. And I will leave the fourth one unnamed because that would be even more foreshadowing.
Yeah. As far as the Grays,
that's a little bit unbalanced there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen out of the Grays what I was wanting to see. I mean, with all that big, especially Tanner.
Well, Taylor's just now getting to age.
I get that, but I'm saying, I guess what I'm looking at as far as Tanner was so highly publicized in saying, hey, listen, my background's in stock car racing. I've dabbled a little bit over here in the NHRA, had a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Won some races.
Yeah.
But I really feel like I got to go back to stock car racing. Ever since he decided to do that, I haven't seen out of him what I was really expecting to see.
No, it's honestly, he's about a year behind.
Yeah.
Or two.
I mean, you're just talking about Taylor coming of age. He and Taylor seem to be almost on even footing, and Tanner's got more experience at this level.
Yeah, because if I had to, let me think here. If them two lined up head to head, I'd say Bristol.
And mind you, they're running for the same team. They're not in competing teams. These guys are teammates.
Yeah, they lined up at Bristol. Heads up. Place your odds on whoever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Taylor all day long.
I think I would too.
Because Taylor would half track him in a 50-lap race.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Taylor would half track him.
But let's go back to this situation with Denny Hamlin before we have to go to our first official break. And I don't think he's going anywhere from Toyota. I mean, obviously, 2311 is closely aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing. So David Wilson doesn't lose anything if he leaves Joe Gibbs Racing and goes to his own 2311. He doesn't lose anything.
Right.
Joe Gibbs loses a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times have we said this? What's in the cupboard for Joe Gibbs? I mean, he's already pulled up grandson Ty a year earlier than what he had initially planned. He wasn't planning on pulling Ty up until after the 2023 season for 2024. So he's already got Ty a year ahead of when he really wanted to have him. Now, he does have plenty of experience now, having run that 45 car /23 late in the year, and he got several races in because, let's face it, Kurt Busch hadn't run since Pocono.
Yep.
So he's got that experience, but still, he's probably still a little bit young for what Joe would have really wanted. Now what's he got? Now he's tried to reload, and we're going to get to that during Xfinity Series news, So we'll see where we go. But again, you start to go to that cupboard one too many times, and you're going to find there ain't much left in that cupboard. And that's pretty much the situation Joe Gibbs is in right now.
One of them in the cupboard.
There's one big one that we're going to talk about for this week.
One in the cupboard. Let's word it this way. If we're comparing it to freshly pulled bananas off of a tree, one in the cupboard, the banana is still pretty green, if you ask me.
Sure.
The second one that's in the cupboard, yeah, I'd say it's pretty ripe.
Yeah, I'd say it's about ready to go. We'll find all that out in a minute, and when we come back, we're going to talk about potential milestones for 2023 because there's a few of them. Kyle Busch has a couple of them. Denny Hamlin, we just talked about him. Kevin Harvick as well. Plus, we get to talk about good news for Chris and Emma Buscher and the latest on Elio Castroneves trying to get a Cup Series ride. Don Hawk from the Superstar Racing Experience said, "You want to race at my level, I will do my level best to get you a Cup Series ride for 2023. What's the update? We'll tell you next.
Stay right here for more.
Action here, but no actual on-track action. But we do want to talk about the Cup Series. We're into Cup Series news right now, and a couple of people have started running down some of the milestones that are within reach for 2023. Pretty cool to note. We like to do that.
Yep.
Kyle Busch may have the most notable one with a win, and remember, he's going on to a new team. But this is a team that we have seen win both with Austin Dillon and with Tyler Reddick before he left this car. With one win in this upcoming year, he sets the new NASCAR record for consecutive seasons with a win. Currently sitting at 18, it's a tie between Busch and the King, Richard Petty. One more time, 19, and he stands all by himself. And you know what? I ain't going to bet against him to get at least one win this coming season.
I'm not going to bet against him if he gets that win coming right out of the gate.
It could easily happen there. Yeah, it could easily happen at Daytona. I could see that.
Now, anybody wants to argue me, I will gladly argue with him. He's arguably in the best super speedway program he's ever been in.
Yeah. I mean, Childress is what, one step down from Hendrick, and I'm not even sure it's a full step.
I say it's a half step.
Yeah.
From super speedway races,
may not even be a half a step. Might only be like a quarter step.
Yeah.
In addition to that, and he could also do this at Daytona, all he needs to do is lead 92 laps this season, and he will have claimed 19,000 laps led in his career. Think about that for a minute.
Honestly,
I could easily see that at Daytona.
I could see him breaking 20,000 this year.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. His now former teammate, it's going to be weird to say that for a while, Denny Hamlin, all he needs is 2 wins, and he joins a list of drivers who have 50 wins in their Cup Series career. 50 would put him in a 3-way tie with Hall of Famers Junior Johnson and Ned Jarrett at that number. Right now at 48, he is 1 behind Tony Stewart, who has 49 for his career, and it's not like Tony's going to add anything to that anytime too soon, especially considering what he said towards the latter end of last year. Then there's Kevin Harvick, who is one of Tony Stewart's drivers. He can claim actually a few milestones. Let's see. He can, and probably will, mark Cup start number 800 right here in our own backyard at Talladega. 5 starts later, easy math, would obviously be 105. That would tie him at Jeff Gordon with 9th on the all-time starts list. It would officially pass him at Sonoma. For him, now keep in mind, Kyle Busch is 37, 38?
He's my age, 37.
37. Kevin Harvick's how old? 46, 47?
46, 47.
So he's got 9 to 10 years. He's got the better part of a decade easily on Kyle Busch. This is how good Kyle Busch has been, whether you like him or not. You got to admit it. Kevin Harvick needs to lead 99 laps this season, which is going to happen. And that will mean he will have passed 16,000 laps led in his career. So he's fully 3,000 laps led behind Kyle Busch, and Kyle has 10 fewer years on him. He only needs 5 top 5 finishes in the next year to claim 250 top 5s in his Cup career as well. Yep. All of that easily will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will too.
Back to Kyle Busch. He has worked with Richard Childress Racing, but from what we understand, Kyle really was the guy who was the leader on designing the look that his car, specifically the stylized number 8, will take on. Not a bad look.
No,
I like the way that it looks.
It's different and it looks good.
Yeah, it's hard to describe it. So what I'm going to say for fans of Kyle Busch, you can get in on this new look merchandise by going to one of 2 places. You can go to store.rcrracing, and that is literally it, store.rcrracing.com, or go to kylebusch.com. You can check it out for yourself, and you can decide for yourself. But me personally, I think it looks pretty good. In addition, 5 sponsors have been named for the car. They showed off 2 of them. And most of these are returning Richard Childress Racing sponsors that are continuing with the organization and the 8 car. Cheddar's, 3CHI or 3Chi, Lenovo, Alsco Uniforms, and BetMGM. They showed off the 3Chi and Cheddar's cars, and they look pretty good.
I didn't see I call it the 3Chi.
3Chi, okay.
I didn't see the 3Chi car, but I saw the Cheddar's and the Alsco car.
Okay.
They've got the same baseline graphic design, but the colors match up to the respective sponsor, and I'll have to say that out of the 2 I've seen so far, the Cheddar's car with that black, and I call it a dark bronze look.
Yeah, it's not really a gold.
It's dark bronze.
Yeah.
Pretty sharp.
It is. I like that. I like how they've got it.
The Alsco car is not that bad either.
Not at all. Congratulations out to Chris and I'm trying to combine their names. Chris and Emma Busher. They welcomed their daughter on Wednesday, December the 7th. Named her Charlie, CHRLEY. Pretty cool. First child together. Congratulations to them. Mom and child doing very, very well. And then there's that deal that we were talking about. We teased it beforehand. Elio Castroneves was kind of challenged by Don Hawk, who's the CEO of the Superstar Racing Experience, SRX, and said, hey, if you can claim a win, I will do everything within my power to try and get you a NASCAR ride next year. Try and make it in the Cup Series. And with Elio Castroneves' resume in racing, I don't think NASCAR would have too much of a problem giving him a license to run at pretty much any track.
Truth be known, he's probably already got it.
Probably does, but if he doesn't, I don't think they would have a problem giving it to him. Again, This is a 4-time Indy 500 winner.
Right. Don't think you'll have any problem getting it, but
What's going to hold you back from getting it?
it's the aspect to. This is me talking with my PC hat on here. It's the aspect of putting somebody in a car at a super speedway that has no super speedway experience in large packs.
It's true.
He's got IROC experience,
He does.
but he doesn't have it in large packs.
Yeah. And let's face it, Superstar Racing Experience, as much as he is in packs, we're talking packs at a short track. They don't run anything bigger than, they haven't run anything longer than, what, 3/4 of a mile? I'm not even sure they've gone that long.
The largest track they've ran, I'm pretty sure, is going to be, I think the biggest track they ran is Fairgrounds.
Okay. That's not 3/4 of a mile.
I think it's barely under 3/4.
Yeah. I mean, he's familiar with running at tracks that NASCAR runs on. NASCAR's run on Indianapolis Motor Speedway. NASCAR's run at Texas. NASCAR's run at Pocono. You know, he's familiar with these tracks. He's been on some of the other tracks that NASCAR's run on because, let's face it, he's more than 20 years into an IndyCar career, and they have been in and out of tracks that NASCAR also runs on.
Right.
But familiarity with those tracks in IndyCar is different than familiarity with those tracks in a stock car.
Substantially different.
You know, and again, there is a difference between, and I'm not trying to put IndyCar down, because there are times when you can get a pack of 2, 3, maybe even 4 cars. But you're talking about being in a pack at Daytona of potentially 30 plus cars doing 175 to 190 miles per hour, depending on exactly how things are going at that particular time. That's a vast difference.
I go as far, sustained, consistent 185, 195.
Yeah.
In that
I mean,
range.
that is an entirely different world.
Huge.
So the question becomes, how comfortable is NASCAR? Again, I don't think I'd have a problem giving him a license for anywhere else. I'd want to see him at a Daytona or a Talladega. ARCA?
Make it. Honestly,
Would you make him run ARCA? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
If you follow the proper protocol that you're supposed to follow, which we know that rarely happens anymore.
That's true. I mean, they could easily give him a waiver.
Here's your waiver. Ho, you go run Daytona 500.
Huh? Yeah.
Watch him go out there and qualify. Put the Project 91 car on the front row.
And that's the possibility. We still don't know what car it's going to be, because and we'll get to that, but let's just go ahead. If they followed protocol, he'd almost have to run ARCA.
If he doesn't, and I am Juan Montoya, I'm losing it.
Heck, if I'm Joey Logano, I would.
If I'm Joey Logano, I'm losing it.
I've said this. Joey Logano was set to make his Super Speedway Cup Series debut at Talladega. They made him run that weekend's ARCA race. And how do I know that? Because I happened to be working that race as a pit reporter. And I was the one that was doing the Victory Lane interview.
If I'm Bubba Wallace, I'm losing it.
Sure.
If I'm Denny Hamlin, I'm losing it. Because I can remember when Denny Hamlin made his first ARCA start at Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a red Pontiac.
Yeah.
He needs to.
Yeah, I think it probably would behoove him.
Just to make sure he can actually hold, instead of running a 1,700-pound car at 240 miles an hour, which we know he can do.
Sure.
You got a car that's double the weight, running less speed, but in a tighter group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To paraphrase Days of Thunder.
Yeah. Paraphrasing Days of Thunder here. Correct. But if that did happen, I don't think he would have a problem getting an ARCA ride for that race.
Oh, my gosh, no. I think any number of the owners would be more than happy to put a car out there and say, hey, guess who I got in my car this weekend? I got Elio Castroneves. I got a 4-time Indy 500 winner in my car.
And I'm pretty sure, I'm not pretty sure. I know for a fact that there would be one in particular, and I'm even going to throw in a second one, ARCA team that's under the Chevrolet banner, because high odds are he would be in a Chevrolet
More than likely.
that would put a car on the track. One said team putting a second car on the track
There you go.
that I don't think they would blink an eye at it.
Well, Castroneves was asked by motorsport.com if there was any news about his potential Daytona 500 start. His reply, quote, I'm working on it. No, I'm not trying to do his accent. I know lately there have been rumors. Even my team owner has been asking me what's going on. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, he's talking about Michael Shank, by the way, in IndyCar. He said, hopefully in the next 2 weeks we will hear something. But as of right now, I've called people that I hear are interested, but nobody's getting back to me. So I guess I'll wait for the right time for them to call.
Elio, for the love of humanity and mankind in motorsports, do not partner up with Floyd Mayweather's car.
No.
Give yourself a chance to be up front,
Sure.
to be consistent, and to finish.
Yeah. If I'm him, I'm not calling Floyd Mayweather.
And
Floyd Mayweather could call me, fine. I'll talk to you. But at this point in time, I'm doing everything but camping out on the doorstep for that Project 91 car.
Oh, I'm setting up a tent and getting a sleeping bag and sleeping at Trackhouse Racing in Concord, right behind the Lowe's there, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Here's the thing. He doesn't need to do that. Grab your motorhome, go on down there, and just park it right in the parking lot.
And everybody that has heard me say and in this very show knows that I'm really high on Justin Marks.
Mm-hmm.
He is probably the most calculated and, in a good way, deadliest car owner on the series right now.
You want to talk about a guy who has his eyes set with bullseyes on him, and his aim is perfect. His aim is perfect.
Justin, you would be crazy. Look at the publicity and the eyeballs that went onto your team when you put Kimi Räikkönen in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Think of how much higher it would go if you put Elio Castroneves in that car at Daytona.
Absolutely. I mean, Kimi Räikkönen, as famous as he is around the world, is not as famous in the United States as Elio Castroneves is.
No. I mean, I get that you want to keep it as like, that you want to run it as like a road racing style, worldwide type setup.
But this is your opportunity to put a world-class driver in your car at what everyone calls the Super Bowl of stock car racing.
Bingo.
Do it.
And he would make the race with ease.
A little Xfinity Series news here. This will go through the next break, by the way. And we were talking about it. What's in the cupboard at Joe Gibbs Racing? Well, they've had a couple of holes over there, so they're trying to fill that driver lineup for 2023. Obviously, as we talked about it, Kyle Busch going from Joe Gibbs Racing to Richard Childress Racing, the cascade effect came into play. Ty Gibbs was announced as moving up from Xfinity to Cup. He'll take over the 18 car, which technically now becomes the 54 in the Cup Series. So that's done. Other moves necessitated finding at least one full-time driver. That driver's Sammy Smith. Smith's going to take over the Xfinity number 18 full-time. Jeff Meandering's going to be calling the shots on top of the War Wagon. He's going to keep Pilot Flying J as his primary sponsor, along with Allstate, Peterbilt, and Mobil One, among others. Smith is a two-time defending ARCA Menards East Series champion. He just turned 18 in June. Joined the ARCA Menards Series, claimed 6 wins in a short period of time. Also ran 9 times in the Xfinity Series, claimed a best finish of 3rd at Watkins Glen. This is what we were talking about, though, when we said you keep opening the cupboard and it gets barer.
Here's your green banana right here.
Yeah, Sammy Smith looks very, very talented.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, we just talked about that resume, but this is a kid who's effectively going from ARCA Menards East right to Xfinity.
Anybody remember the path that Ty Gibbs took? Same one.
Yep. I mean,
Even though he ran national ARCA races and ARCA East Series races,
mhm.
ARCA East Series schedule is only like 8 races long.
Yeah.
Dabbled in with a few national races. I think he run like 4 or 5. So let's say 12 to 15 ARCA races. Oh, you're going to Xfinity. Huh? Where can I do that?
Did you notice last year that Joe Gibbs Racing really only had 3 cars out on the track? There was one that was missing, but they're breaking it out of mothballs. Who for? We'll tell you about it when we come back as Joe Gibbs Racing tries to refill the cupboard. We'll talk about it more next on CRN.
Stay right here for more. Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
For sharp, eagle-eyed viewers of NASCAR, specifically the Xfinity Series, you might have noted that Joe Gibbs Racing kind of went down from a 4-car Xfinity operation to 3.
Uh-huh.
The missing number? 20.
2-0.
Did you notice that? Well, if you didn't miss much. But that being said, the number 20 is back for 2023.
Uh-huh.
Former Kyle Busch Motorsports driver. Remember, Kyle Busch Motorsports was Toyota. Now they're Chevrolet. Several drivers who really were more affiliated with Toyota than Kyle Busch Motorsports wanted to stick with Toyota. And that brings us one John Hunter Nemechek to the Xfinity Series full-time. We were talking about
Here's your right banana.
Yeah, we were talking about the not quite ready for prime time bananas. That's Sammy Smith. Here's your ripe one. This is John Hunter Nemechek. Returns the 20 to action after not running it in 2022. As for the number 19 Toyota, that'll be Ryan Truex. He's been signed to be one of the drivers in that car for 2023. He's got half a dozen races right now. Ran 5 for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2022. Finished 3rd in Atlanta. At this time, he's the only driver confirmed for the 19. His slate is uncertain. We don't know which half dozen races he's going to run. So the 19 is going to be not necessarily star car, although probably some of the Cup Series drivers are going to get time in the 19.
Yeah.
But several drivers, let's just put it that way. The 18's got Sammy Smith. The 20 has John Hunter Nemechek. For Nemechek, he drove in 11 races in Xfinity competition in 2022. 3 of those were for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 18. The other 8 were for Sam Hunt Racing. We'll get back to them. Garnered 2 wins and 7 poles in the Truck Series as well. Finished 5th in the final standings. For 2023, Nemechek going to have primary sponsorship from Mobil 1. They're like sponsoring everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing, aren't they?
They are.
Along with Barry's Bullets, Pye Barker Fire and Safety, and Romco Equipment. This returns him full-time into Xfinity after having been full-time in it 1 year before, 2019. That year he claimed 6 top 10 and 19, 6 top 5 and 19 top 10 finishes for GMS Racing. And then 2020, it was 2020, right? He went Cup Series racing with Front Row Motorsports. And he actually did very, very well. And then all of a sudden blew our minds here on the show by saying, you know what? Yeah, I did great in 2020, but you know what? 2021, I'm going to drop all the way back down to the Truck Series. We were like, you're going to do what?
Yeah.
It does seem to have worked out pretty well, though.
So far.
You know, he gambled on himself, and so far it's paying off.
So far.
No disrespect to Front Row Motorsports, who have been clawing, scraping, and scratching, and do seem to be working their way up through the tiers. But, you know, John Hunter Nemechek he's done pretty well for himself. Got to give him credit for that.
He has.
That's a nice pull for Joe Gibbs Racing. So if Denny Hamlin does happen to leave after this coming season and start that 3rd car over there at 2311, they got John Hunter Nemechek.
Pending what Martin Truex Jr. does, you may
that's also
have
true,
2
yeah.
seats open.
Yeah, that's also true. And that goes back to that whole thing of what you got left in the cupboard there, Joe.
Not very much.
Unfortunately, no. We were talking Josh Berry, who started the Snowball Derby on the pole, but unfortunately got into a wreck, finished in the mid-20s. Junior Motorsports number 8 car that Berry will drive in 2023. Got several sponsors lined up throughout the year. One of them is Jarrett Companies. They've chosen to double their number as a primary sponsor. They're going to go from 3 in 2022 up to 6. They announced the 6 races as well. Going to be the Spring Phoenix, Richmond, Dover, Atlanta in the summer, Indianapolis, the road course, Texas. Between Jarrett, Bass Pro Shops, and Tire Pros, 26 of the 33 races were fully financed. And then the day after Jarrett announced, you can now make it 28 because Lube Zone Incorporated, one of the fastest growing maintenance center for medium and heavy duty trucks, going to partner with Berry and Junior Motorsports on the 8 car for 2 events. That'll be August 5th in Michigan and then in Las Vegas, October the 14th. I got to say, it's one of those things that does kind of boggle the mind when you think about it. Junior Motorsports may be the premier Xfinity Series team out there.
I don't even think there's a maybe to it. They are.
The only reason I say maybe is because you do have Joe Gibbs Racing that's involved in there. But I kind of put Joe Gibbs Racing as a NASCAR team because they're at the Cup Series level as much as they are Xfinity. Plus they got ARCA.
Sure.
Really, the only thing that they're not involved in is the Truck Series. Directly. I'll put it that way. They're not directly involved in it.
Keyword direct.
Junior Motorsports is Xfinity only when it comes to the top levels of NASCAR. So again, very arguably, they are the premier one. And you get a kid like Josh Berry who has done so much for Junior Motorsports over that time, including at the Xfinity Series level.
Agreed.
And he's not yet fully sponsored. I mean, granted, they only got 5 left, but still, that seems strange that Junior Motorsports and a kid as promising as Josh Berry, and I say kid, I mean, he's not really that young in the grand scheme of things.
No.
But such a talented guy in Josh Berry combined with Junior. And they haven't got the car fully sponsored yet?
I don't think they'll have a problem with it.
Probably not,
Honestly.
but it's still kind of mind-boggling to me. I mean, we talked about this towards the latter end, the last, 2 years, I think, of Junior's Cup Series career? Mm-hmm. And Hendrick Motorsports with Dale Jr. was saying we haven't got that car fully sponsored. That was the 88 Cup car. That shows you how weird things have been in NASCAR and in racing. It's not just NASCAR.
That's how the overall economy is, because there is not but one. No, check that. I can't think of one car right offhand in Cup that is fully sponsored by one person.
No,
I can't think of one.
The days of Home Depot and Lowe's, and we even talked about them earlier, FedEx on the 11 car. Now, you're going to see FedEx on the 11 car the vast majority of the 36 races. But there's going to be a couple of races in there where they're not going to be on the hood of that 11 car.
But you're going to have sport clips. You're going to have some sport clips, mainly.
Yeah.
Just say that.
I mean, they're all going through this rotation of sponsors, and it's the new way that they're doing sponsorships within NASCAR. But yeah, you're right. I mean, those days of one sponsor being on the hood for the entire year, they're gone. You're not going to get them back. So now you're having to piece together how you're going to put sponsors on these cars, and it's at every single level. It's at Cup, it's at Xfinity, it's at the Craftsman Truck Series, it's in ARCA too. And ARCA's not technically that expensive a series to run in, but it's expensive enough to where you're better off getting several sponsors and spreading them out over the course of the year instead of trying to convince one sponsor to foot the whole bill for the entire year.
I'm looking. I have currently found 2 cars that I can see that were sponsored the full year by one company each.
Okay.
And I'm going to use the prevalent one first. 48 car.
Okay.
Ally was on the car the whole year.
Okay.
And the 51 of Cody Ware, Nurtec ODT, was on the car all year long.
And no disrespect, but the 51 wasn't running anywhere near as well as the 48 was.
Nope. I mean, not even
the 18. As long as M&M Mars has been with Joe Gibbs Racing on and on the hood of that particular car, and as long as they've been in NASCAR before that, even M&M Mars with all their different brands wasn't on the hood of that 18 car for the entire year.
The only other car that's even remotely close to having a full single sponsor was the 5 car.
Yeah, HendrickCars.com.
Yeah.
That and the 11 car with FedEx. That's really about it.
That's it.
Things have changed, boys and girls. Anyway, from there we go to Sam Hunt Racing, or the other SHR. You got Stuart Haas Racing and you got Sam Hunt Racing. We'll try and keep them separate for you. They announced this week they're set to expand to 2 full-time cars for next year. The number 26 Toyota Supra will have the one full-time driver. Kaz Gralla will be the driver of that car through the entire year. That's a nice pickup. Kaz Gralla was a guy that a few years ago, you and I kind of looked at each other and went, who? But I got to say, Kaz Gralla has come in and he has been, if not spectacular, he has been certainly a solid driver.
He's groomed himself really well.
He has.
He's taken his time. He hadn't rushed himself. He's taken every solid opportunity that he's gotten, and he has evolved steadily.
Mm-hmm. This is a good pickup for both Sam Hunt Racing and for Kaz Gralla. This is going to benefit, I think, both of them, because Sam Hunt Racing is quietly a contending car.
They're sneaky.
Yeah.
They are sneaky.
And Kaz Gralla is the kind of driver who can help them make that car just a tick better, I think, if they work together properly.
I don't disagree, because I've seen times where Kaz Gralla has taken what I would classify as a junk car or a junk truck and be like, Where'd he come from?
So yeah, this is that signing that benefits, I think, both sides. He gets a good car, they get a great driver. The other car is going to be the 24. That'll be driven the majority of the year by Connor Mosack. Connor's going to get 20 races behind the wheel. Chris Bowen will be his crew chief. Bowen coming over from Our Motorsports. What does this do? Now, granted, we know on the surface what this does. This gives them a second car. This gives a little more communication between two cars, which has generally benefited teams over the course of time. Connor Mosack, what does Connor Mosack bring? Let's start with him.
Honestly, you want to be real, what he brings?
Let's go.
Money.
Okay. With?
Sponsor.
Okay. I mean, who's the sponsor? We might as well go and throw it out there, if you know it.
If it's the same one that he had last year, the custom men's underwear company, Nick Taylor.
Okay.
Let's call it that.
What does Chris Bowen bring in? I mean, he comes over from Our Motorsports. He's got previous experience before that, but he comes over from Our Motorsports as his most recent crew chiefing job. What does he bring?
I'm really not sure. Here's why I say that. Because Our Motorsports didn't show much last year. So you really don't know what he brings.
Okay.
You know what kind of equipment Sam Hunt's going to have because they've got that tie-in with Toyota and JGR.
That they do.
So you know what they're going to have.
This is the expansion. This may be the growing
Exactly.
pains.
This might be your growing pain aspect.
Okay.
Now, when they get to road courses, if I'm picking road course ringers, which we know that doesn't happen very much anymore, I'm squarely going to look at that 24 car because Connor's really good on road courses. He's a really good road course racer.
They haven't said what the 20 races he's going to run are.
I guarantee you 6, how many of them? 6, 7, 8, 10 of them that
think
Xfinity seems like they have now.
7, I think.
It's at least 7. I guarantee at least 7 of them will be road courses.
We don't have the schedule up in front of us. Sorry, boys and girls. One more note here before we take a break here. Well, we might be able to get both of them in now that I look at the timing factor. Jesse Iwuji Motorsports, this was a big deal. Jesse Iwuji, the Navy Lieutenant Commander, working with former NFL and NFL Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, excuse me. Might as well call it the NFL Hall of Fame. Emmett Smith started up this team, got a major sponsor in a company called Equity Prime Mortgage. Now there's a lawsuit. Yikes. Jesse Iwuji Motorsports has filed suit against Equity Prime Mortgage, seeking over $4 million. Claims that the sponsor is in breach of contract. They allege the company agreed to pay the team $2.25 million in sponsorship money for this year, 2022, and they agreed to a $3.75 million sponsorship for 2023. Jesse Iwuji Motorsports is seeking the outstanding balance for this year, $375,000, and they want the entire 2023 balance of $3.75 million. Now, EPM is based out of Atlanta. They haven't commented on the lawsuit at this time, but they did state that they have been, quote, margin called, unquote, and said that with the rise in interest and therefore mortgage rates, they couldn't continue to pay for the sponsorship. The suit states that Jesse Iwuji Motorsports sent the team a, quote, notice of intent, unquote. They were terminating the sponsorship deal, which gave the company 30 days to make it right after the first missed payment, which happened October the 1st. Claims that the company, again, Equity Prime Mortgage, took no action and, quote, continued to take advantage of their status as a sponsor of the team, despite the fact that they hadn't paid for it. Suit was filed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, probably with a judge that would seem to be more than sympathetic towards Jesse Iwuji Motorsports as opposed to Equity Prime. This is the situation we're in, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're dealing with right now. You go and you sign, and I'm not necessarily a bank, but when you start and when you go out and you sign a mortgage company, this is what you're going to risk, because if the interest rates go up, as we all know that they have been, welcome to our particular economy. This isn't a political show, so I'll bite my tongue on the rest of that.
Fight hard. If it was Monday morning, I'd say open the floodgates, Steve West.
Yeah.
Or as he would say, Steve Stern.
But yeah, I mean, that's the situation we're in. And it's unfortunate that this is what it's come to.
Oh, sure.
And I'll be honest with you, I get the funny feeling that unless there's some real fine line paperwork involved in there, Jesse Iwuji Motorsports is probably going to get the outstanding balance or the vast majority thereof.
And a whole lot of brand new race cars, boys and girls.
There you go. And one
Lord
final
knows
note.
they need them.
The memorial service for Coy Gibbs was held on Wednesday of this week. Reports had several hundred people attending it. I wish I would have loved to have been there.
Yes.
Again, I've met this family, and they're fantastic. Regardless of what you might think about them on a professional basis, personally, they're good people. Coy, 49, of course, passed away within hours of seeing his son Ty claim the Xfinity Series title this year. A crowd gathering at Joe Gibbs Racing's headquarters, including all their current drivers for the team, along with former JGR drivers. It's weird to say former JGR driver Kyle Busch, but that's what we're in now. Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, Carl Edwards, Daniel Hemrick were all there. Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon were also in attendance. And, yeah, if we could have, I think all of us from the Championship Racing Network would have been there as well because, again, that's a huge and shocking loss because now what you're dealing with at Joe Gibbs Racing is not only trying to figure out the drivers of your future, you're trying to figure out who the people who are going to run Joe Gibbs Racing in the future are going to be because JD left us way too early and now Coy is gone.
Yeah.
We'll see where they go. Mm-hmm. On that note, hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 up next. We'll start with the Craftsman Truck Series.
We're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, welcome back into the show. Steve West along with Matt Nicholson here on this particular weekend. Wow, middle of December pretty much already?
Feels like late July, early August outside.
Yeah. Hey,
Gracious.
let's look at it from another angle.
True.
For those of you that are procrastinators, you got 2 weeks for shopping. Exactly. Have fun.
Thanks for the reminder.
We're talking racing.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, we're talking racing. We're going to give you that break. To the Craftsman Truck Series here, and plenty of news. Apparently, it was moving week in the Truck Series for drivers as teams prepare for 2023. For example, McAnally Hilgeman Racing have brought in 2 drivers. They got the veteran Truck Series driver Christian Eckes. That, boys and girls, is a nice get if you ask me, but I'll throw it over to the resident racing driver.
There's another one that Toyota lost and choked away.
He comes in along with a driver by the name of Jake Garcia. We'll get back to him in just a second. Eckes has been in the Truck Series for 2 years, made the playoffs both years. He will move, as you noted, from Toyota to the McAnally Hilgeman number 19 Chevy Silverado with Napa sponsorship. The other driver, Jake Garcia, creates a small conundrum. Garcia won't turn 18 until after the 2023 season begins. Does that mean he has to miss Daytona?
Mm-hmm.
He will celebrate because the day of the Las Vegas race is the day he turns 18.
Happy birthday. Fire it up. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. He'll then take over the team's number 35 Chevrolet Silverado to be sponsored by Adaptive One for the majority of the season. He will complete for the Sunoco Rookie of the Year. Jake Garcia, former track champion at the aforementioned Five Flag Speedway. He's the youngest Southern Super Series title winner in its history. Is this too fast of a jump, or your take on Jake Garcia, I guess, is probably what I'm asking.
He'll be pretty good.
Okay.
He will be pretty good. I don't think he'll have a problem.
He's not in over his head?
No.
And
He's actually one of the very few coming up through the ladder that knows how to keep his head screwed on.
And pairing him with a driver who has been in there for a couple of years and has experienced success like Christian Eckes, that only helps. Assuming that he and Christian get along.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that those guys mix like oil and water, but I don't think McAnally Hilgeman would have brought them both in if they felt like that was going to be the case.
Correct.
Then you got GMS Racing. We've talked about Petty GMS Racing, and they are doing really actually some very good things in the Cup Series, but they're going to soldier on in the Truck Series as well in 2023. And they got themselves a pretty young kid, a hot shot that we have talked about here on the show before. They're bringing in 20-year-old Raja Karuth to drive for them on a full-time basis in 2023. He got the news, but the Winston-Salem State University kid had to start scheduling things out because the announcement officially happened on Tuesday, but he needed to finish a paper to get it in just before midnight on Monday. And according to what we heard, he basically got it in just before the deadline happened, got a quick nap, and then rushed to GMS Racing headquarters in Tuesday for the announcement. He's set to drive the team's number 24 Chevy Silverado with the Wendell Scott Foundation as the primary sponsor. Raja is a Drive for Diversity member, ran full-time in the ARCA Menard Series 2022, claimed 8 top 5 and 14 top 10 finishes, claimed third in the final standings. After the announcement, it was pretty much right back to school because this is the busy time for him, trying to get in as much as he can before the 2023 season begins. Raja Karuth in the 24 truck. What do you anticipate?
He'll be solid. I mean, he may not be spectacular right out of the gate, but he'll be solid because he's got a pretty solid wrench that's going to be on top of the box with Chad Walter.
Okay.
So I think he'll be very respectable, and then, you know, with somebody to lean on like Grant in Finger. And from what I can see through how he's been involved, I'm pretty sure Jimmy Johnson's going to be heavily involved in doing some mentoring work with these younger guys.
He was
running
right
trucks.
there for the announcement when this happened. So, yeah, I think you're probably right.
This GMS and Petty GMS overall as a one large organization, they may be the ticking time bomb for this year.
Yeah, I could easily
and that's
see
in
them
a positive way, not a negative
I could
way.
easily see them explode in a good way. Very much so.
Yep.
Over to the new, I say new, Tricon Garage. They got their shift from, let's see if we can get all this right here. They're shifting from David Gilliland Racing to Tricon Garage. They're moving from Ford to Toyota. That's the quick overview in case you missed all that news from previous weeks.
And now going to have 5 trucks.
Among them, the number 5 Toyota Tundra. California kid Dean Thompson takes it over. Thompson was a rookie in 2022, ran for Nice Motorsports, claimed a best finish of 11th at Las Vegas early in the year. He's a 21-year-old, two-time track champion at Irwindale in California. Kind of a rather slim 10 starts in ARCA Menards and the ARCA Menards West Series. He'll be sponsored by his family's Thompson Pike Group, so that means he came in with a little bit of money behind him. What, if anything, are you expecting out of this? I mean, Tricon Garage with full backing from Toyota, not going to be a team necessarily that's behind the eight ball, but you're talking about a kid who's got relatively little experience. Two-time champion at Irwindale? What does that do for you?
Nothing.
At this level.
Because they don't run a track anywhere close to Irwindale.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I say on this show, guys, I don't know.
I mean, this is going to be a kid who's...
I don't know.
This to me is, it's not throwing him in from the high dive. I'll say that. But basically what Tricon and Toyota are doing is they're taking this kid and they're going, okay, we like what we've seen out of you so far with what limited experience we have. Hope you know how to swim. And they're yelling that as they toss him into the deep end of the pool.
I would say that's an understatement.
Hope you can do well. We'll find out.
I'm interested to see something. I'm
Okay.
looking. Go ahead. I'm looking at something.
All right. While you're doing that, this is an interesting move as Kyle Busch Motorsports again moves over from Toyota to Chevrolet, which is the opening that Tricon took. They've announced that they have hired a crew chief for the aforementioned Chase Purdy in the number 4 truck. They've hired Jimmy Villeneuve. He's been with Kyle Busch Motorsports since 2017 as a truck chief, helped drivers claim 18 wins over that time, was even as part of the team that helped Christopher Bell claim the 2017 Truck Series title and the number 51 2019 Owners title. So he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
He's been a fill-in crew chief, if I remember correctly, but this would be the first time as a full-time crew chief, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they'll fall off much.
Yeah, plus he's got Chase Purdy. I mean, not bad. I take that back. He does have crew chief experience. Back when they had the now defunct Athenian Motorsports team back in 2015. You remember them? He was initially a truck chief there, but promoted to become the crew chief for the late John West Townley. 5 races in 2016, but after that year, they folded the team. The pair claimed wins together before the team folded. He moved over to Kyle Busch Motorsports. All right, what did you look up?
Back to Dean Thompson here.
Yeah.
And I would really love to pick the brain of David Gilliland and Johnny Gray and the people at Toyota for this choice.
See, I'm wondering if this wasn't more of a Toyota choice necessarily than a David Gilliland choice based upon the money. I mean, I get it. He comes with a check. But I'm wondering if Toyota made the call more than David Gilliland did.
I really...
And I don't know either way.
I really
I'm taking
don't know.
a guess.
I really don't know.
If I'm David Gilliland, I get it. You want the check because you need the money to continue going on with the team. But you're taking a kid who has got a resume that his best stuff, and granted, a 2-time track champion is not a bad thing. But as you noted, the Craftsman Truck Series doesn't go to a track anywhere that races like Irwindale.
Not even close.
You know, so he's going from that. He doesn't even have a dozen starts in between ARCA Menards and ARCA Menards Series West. He has never run it full time. It's got to be the money. But who made the decision that said you need to take this kid?
Yeah, it's nothing but money and if I had to lean anything away, it's going to be on David Gilliland.
You think
we're going
so?
to a 5th truck. He's bringing money. Don't you think that many's enough?
I would have thought.
8 total ARCA Menards Series West starts.
So that means 2 ARCA Menards Series starts.
2 ARCA Menards Series starts. Here's his 2022 stats, and this is the reason why I said I would like to pick David Gilliland's brain. Johnny Gray, which is the other very highly well-off person putting money in this team.
Okay.
As well as David Wilson. Competed in all 23 events in 2022. Wins, 0. Top 5s, 0.
Ouch.
Top 10s, 0.
Ooh.
Poles, 0. 2,722 laps completed. Finished 23rd in the final driver standings. Average start, 24.7.
Ouch.
Average finish, 25.2.
Yeah.
His average position of running at the finish, 18th.
So he slightly improved off his starting spot, but that's only slightly.
Lead lap finishes.
Ooh,
Out of 23,
this is going to be a tell.
his percentage is less than 50%, kids.
Ouch.
He finished on the lead lap 8 times.
Ouch.
I'm closing this tab out before I lose my mind.
Yeah. This is a check hire, unfortunately.
So I'll say that.
Prove us wrong, Dean.
I'll say this in closing. I'm going to use two phrases from very high quality movies here. The first one is, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I'm going to paraphrase here off of a line from The Waterboy when Vicky Valancourt, when she pulls out the water, when he's laying on the middle of the field at the Citrus Bowl, and we know it's the Citrus Bowl, but they're playing in the Bourbon Bowl.
Right.
She pulls out the water and says, it's still cold. So I can pull my fire suit out of the closet and say, it still fits.
Mm-hmm.
Which it does.
Hey, I said it before. I'll say it again. Right now, Dean Thompson is flying through the air with nothing but a deep end of the pool underneath him, and he's hearing from the people in the background, hope you can swim. Good luck, man. Prove us wrong. I mean, seriously, prove us wrong. I'd love to see you prove us wrong.
We got one of our listeners, viewers on YouTube, James Greer. Just call him Latifi 2.0.
You might be right.
You
might
have
very
a
well be
point.
right. Might very well be right.
You have a point.
Back to Kyle Busch Motorsports. They've got a technical alliance with Rev Racing for 2023 as well. Nick Sanchez is going to be behind the wheel of the number 2 truck there. We didn't know who was going to be his crew chief until Wednesday. Rev announced it was going to be the veteran NASCAR crew chief, Danny Stockman. Stockman led Austin Dillon to the 2011 truck title and the 2013 Xfinity title and 20 wins across the 2 series, and calling his the shots for different other drivers as well. Danny Stockman, Rev Racing, Nick Sanchez. Your thoughts?
Sleeper playoff team.
Ooh, calling it now. All right. Nice Motorsports, Carson Hocevar back together in 2023. He's going to continue to pilot their number 42 Chevy Silverado. It'll be sponsored by WWEX Racing. It'll mark the 3rd full-time season for him in the series. He will have further sponsorship from Worldwide Express, Unishippers, and Global Trans, all part of basically the same company, just different name brands under that company. He made the playoffs the last 2 years, finished each season 10th in the final points. 3 years now for him. What's the future hold for Carson Hocevar? I mean, what does he have to do at this point in time to prove himself?
He's got to learn how to drive with his head screwed on a little bit better, if you ask me.
I mean, you can make the playoffs, but if all you can do is 10th,
If all you can
there's
do is
something missing.
Yeah, if all you can do is that, and then you're causing deliberate cautions. CC, Talladega Superspeedway, Richmond, IRP. I could go on for a long time. You got a lot of learning to do behind the 5-point harness there, Bubba.
It shows, I mean, him being able to make the playoffs the last 2 years shows he's got a good car and he's got talent, even if it's a bit raw or it's a bit rough around the edges, if you want to put it that way.
And he's got a solid team behind it.
Yeah, he's got a solid team. He's got a solid truck. He has got the talent.
No
it's
doubt.
just rough around the edges.
Oh, for sure.
He needs to smooth those edges out.
A lot.
All right. And one more note from the truck series here, where Eddie Triconis has been found guilty of assault by a jury right here in our backyard, Talladega County. Faces a possible sentence of a year and a day, up to a minimum of or a maximum of 10 years based upon the conviction of assault in the 2nd degree. Triconis, when this all happened, was a crew chief for Young's Motorsports. He was arrested initially. When that happened, the charge stemmed from reports he had hit. I use that term loosely because it was more than just a hit. Spotter Clayton Hughes during the Talladega weekend in October of 2021. The report had stated that Triconis sucker punched Hughes in the neck. When Hughes fell down, Triconis began to kick him several times in his back, beat him to the point where Hughes needed several surgeries, wasn't able to walk immediately after, and still, according to reports, is having trouble doing so. The charges were dropped, for whatever reason, by the prosecutor in February of this year, but a grand jury reinstated the charges the very next month, March. Well, he and Craftsman Truck Series driver Jennifer Jo Cobb, they're married, but they have been separated since well before even the assault on Hughes was reported. Hughes, by the way, was dating Cobb at the time. Think we know the motive.
If that's not the motive, then what is?
Yeah, that's got to be it. So, Eddie, lesson hard learned.
As we go to break, like sands through the hourglass,
Yes.
so are the days at Talladega Superspeedway.
Indeed. We talk about the weird things that happen at Talladega.
Here you go, kids.
Prime example number one. By the way, great event going on out there. If
Yes.
you have the opportunity,
Yes.
take the family and go on out to Talladega Superspeedway. You have a chance to drive your own car out at Talladega for a small fee, and that money goes to charity. It's a great, great deal.
Yep.
Got to take this break. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the NHRA.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
In today's economy, small businesses and consumers need every advantage to survive and get ahead. That is where First Bank of Alabama fits into your financial solution. Our products and services give you the tools you need for your financial success. If you're looking for a better way to bank when, where, and how you want, visit one of our 10 friendly locations or go online at First Bank.
Plenty to get to as we turn our attention to the National Hot Rod Association. So, straight liners, here you go. Jim Dunn Racing announced this week they're going to split with Jim Campbell, their longtime funny car driver. Campbell joined the team back in 2017. Over that time, kind of fell short of a lot of things. Really couldn't claim his first win. He qualified for the chase for the championship the past 2 years, but only finished 10th and 11th in final points in 2021 and 2022, respectively. He did claim his career best pass, 3.92 seconds, but that just wasn't good enough. So he's out. Said they plan to announce a new driver for their funny car entry at the Indianapolis PRI trade show, which wrapped up just yesterday. Campbell said of it, quote, "I've appreciated being a part of Jim Dunn Racing family. Learned a lot from Hall of Fame driver and team owner Jim Dunn. It's meant the world to me. I've gained experience through the process. Look forward to my next racing adventure." We don't know what it's going to be. We're waiting to hear that. As for Jim Dunn, he did officially get that new driver. It's Alex Laughlin. Laughlin's been in and out of the Camping World Drag Racing Series since 2015. Debuted in Pro Stock Car, qualified for all 7 events that he attempted that year. Garnered his first win in 2016 in St. Louis, his second win in 2019 at the U.S. Nationals, another win the next year at the Gator Nationals. So he's got some big wins, but he's only got 4 career wins in Pro Stock action. He was also back down to 7 races in 2021, but for 2020, late in 2021, obtained his Top Fuel license. We didn't have a ride last year. He's been all but out of the NHRA.
I thought he was driving for Scott Palmer because I could have swore I seen.
By all means, look it up.
I could have swore I seen his car at Indianapolis.
I couldn't find anything on him for 2022. I'll just say that. He was all but out. Let's just face it. He didn't make any news. How's that for 2022? Well, now they're saying he's got to get his crossover license because he's going to go from Top Fuel to Funny Car. They plan to run him the entire 2023 schedule. So I'm happy that he's got the ride. He needs some stability. He needs some... And truth be told, from what I can tell, he's got the talent enough to put the car across the finish line first and win. He just needs the stability of having a good team. Jim Dunn Racing is a good team. This might be the opportunity that he's been looking for.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt for sure. Let me go back to Indianapolis here. Here we go.
Okay.
Through NHRA, they didn't have anything for 2022, but I know. Yeah, he attempted to qualify for the U.S. Nationals.
Okay.
In a Scott Palmer car, but he didn't make the show.
He didn't make the show. Okay. So that's what, basically, again, all but out of the NHRA in 2022. Now he gets a return. So good for him. I hope he can make the best of it. Erica Enders, winning her 5th Pro Stock car title of her career, netted her a new associate sponsor. The rich get richer, right? Skag Power Equipment. This will be the first time Skag has partnered with Elite Motorsports and Enders. The brand will appear just over the rear wheel well, likely on their car hauler as well. And then Elite, which is already the biggest team in the NHRA, adds another teammate to Erica Enders. This means that in the Pro Stock car division alone, they're going to field 8 entries.
Well, that gives them automatically a 50% chance to win every week, minimum.
The driver they've added, Jerry Tucker. Tucker is what we call a racer's racer. He can drive pretty much anything on wheels. He's driven sprints and midgets in his career, but mostly he's running the lower divisions of the NHRA over his 30 years of racing. This will be his first time in the Pro Stock car division. Enders will be a teammate along with Bo Butner, Aaron Stanfield, Troy Coughlin Jr., Fernando Quadra Sr., and Fernando's 2 sons, Fernando Jr. and Christian, at Elite Motorsports. Yeah, if they can qualify all 8 cars in the finals bracket, you got a 50-50 shot at claiming that particular win. And you know what? I wouldn't put it past them to qualify the better part of those 8 cars just about every time out.
Agreed. Agreed.
Let's see. Who else we got here? We were talking about Skag Power Equipment. They're relatively new to NHRA sponsorship. They just joined in with Tony Schumacher's Top Fuel ride in 2022, but according to a company spokesperson, moving over to Enders as she defends her 2023 title, that was just the move that made the most sense for them. So I get the feeling that they've left Tony Schumacher. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, the Maynard team, yeah. That's what it looks like.
Then there's John Force Racing. They've been a force, let's face it.
Yep.
They've signed an extension with Chevrolet. They're going to continue running Chevy products in both Top Fuel and Funny Car in a multi-year deal. Of John's 155 event wins alone in Funny Car action, 77 of them have been in GM products, 24 of those in Chevrolets. Other milestones for him, along with Chevrolet and or GM, his first start in 1977 was in a Chevy. His first final round in 1979 was in a Chevy. His first number 1 qualifier was in 1986 in a Chevy. And here's the thing. His first event win. Think about this. This is a guy who started in 1976. This is a guy who has 155 national event wins. What year did I say he started?
76.
When did he claim his first win? 1987. Took him 11 years to get his first win. That means he's packed 155 wins into a much shorter time than even you thought initially.
35 years.
Thing about it is that first win came in the now defunct GM division Oldsmobile. He had shifted away from GM and Chevrolet in the 2000s, late 2000s, really early 2010s, but he returned in 2015. Since then, he's netted 2 titles for his daughter, Brittany Force, 2017 and 2022. And in Funny Car, another 2 for Robert Hike, 2017 and 2019, plus 65 total team wins. That's total, not just John's. Yeah, I'd say it's been a pretty good partnership, and that's why they're continuing in a multi-year deal. We don't know how long it's going to be.
You're running those Chevage engines.
Like
or the shimmy engines.
There you go. Buddy Hull Racing is a team you might not have heard a whole lot about, but the driver that the team is named after and, the team and the driver, they both announced the signing of a new sponsor. This is an interesting choice for a guy out of Texas. Methanol Moonshine from Australia. Yeah. This is an Australian take on the classic American drink that helped launch stock car racing in the southeastern United States. Merchandise with the new sponsor is available via buddyhullracing.com. Hopefully this will work out well for him. NHRA officials have also announced the 2023 call-out race slate, among announcing the entire slate of 2023 races for all 4 divisions of the Camping World Drag Racing Series. As always, Top Fuel Funny Car going to run the complete season, all 21 planned races. Pro Stock Car will be in on 18 of those. Pro Stock Motorcycle will be in for 15 of the 21 races. The 6 races that make up the countdown to the championship, unlike some past years, will feature all 4 divisions in all 4 events. So that's good news. As for the Pro Stock All-Star Call-Out, that's going to happen May 20th, Route 66 Raceway in Chicago. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about when it comes to a call-out, it takes the top 8 drivers in points at that particular time, allows the top seed based on points to call out another driver within the top 8 for a head-to-head matchup. So in other words, if I'm leading the points and Matt's second, I'm the top seed, I could choose to call out the 8 seed, we'll say it's producer John, or I could call out Matt, who's the 2 seed. It doesn't matter. I can call out anybody I want as long as they're in the top 8. Interesting stuff.
It was, I'll say this, I watched it in Indianapolis, and it was extremely fun to watch.
It's entertaining. There's no doubt about it.
Because I'll give you the one example. The one example where it raised my eyebrows to what was going on, because I didn't realize what was going on.
Yeah, Pro Stock call or the All-Star call out, I should say, is a relatively new thing.
Yeah, and
to the NHRA.
It was great to watch, because when the final come up for the Funny Car side, they run Funny Car and Top Fuel up there at the U.S. National.
Yep.
When they came to run for the Funny Car, somebody from Pep Boys actually parachuted out of a plane, landed on the strip.
Okay.
With the case of the $250,000.
Oh, hello. See, they're going to make a show out of it. That's the fun part.
But when I got up there on Saturday, and they was running some of the parts of it, and I looked, and I get there, and Steve Torrance is out there with Alan Reinhart, and they're standing on the track with a mic. He's like, "All right, Steve, who are you going to call out?" I think Torrance called out Antron Brown.
There you go.
They said, "All right." Yeah, Alan Reinhart said, "All right, you're on the clock. Get them ready, boys." Next thing you know, boom, here they come.
Here they come.
And I was like, "This is fun to watch."
Yep. All 4 divisions do this call-out. The Pro Stock Motorcycle All-Star call-out will happen June 29th. That's the weekend of the final event of the noted Western Swing at Sonoma Raceway. Format the exact same top 8 drivers or riders in the division, except in this case, it's the rider with the quickest first-round pass that'll get to call out their semifinal opponent, and then they'll go second fastest, third fastest, and so on. For Top Fuel, the top 8 will be based on the 2022 final standings, because the event takes place at the season opening Gator Nationals. So in other words, Brittany Force gets to do the call out first. As for Funny Car, they're going to be doing theirs at the aforementioned U.S. Nationals the first weekend of September. So again, going back to based upon current year points. To IndyCar news, where in a move that cannot have made the executives at either Honda or Chevrolet too terribly happy, although we hear this is at least partially based upon their requests, IndyCar has now scrapped the idea of the brand new hybrid engine, which was set to be introduced in 2024. That new engine, we're talking about it. We've been talking about it for, 2 years now?
Yeah, at least.
The new engine was supposed to be that 2.4-liter V6 with a twin-turbo hybrid aspect to it, and some said that it would rival the almost 100,000 horsepower from Formula One. Well, Racer.com is reporting that IndyCar officials met with and came to an agreement with both Chevy and Honda officials to continue on with the current 2.2-liter V6 twin-turbo layout that was introduced back in 2012. Reports are they are going to go with the energy recovery system that was developed by Molly, though. That will start in 2024. So, in other words, they're not going to do it this coming year.
Yeah.
They'll start that in 2024. That gives them another year to test that. The report further states that from Racer.com that the reason, which wasn't initially given out publicly, was the high cost not only to develop the new larger displacement engine, but also the high cost of reworking and mass producing the new energy recovery system units. Both brands said that their budgets would be able to really work for one or the other, but not both. So NASCAR decided they'd rather work on the energy recovery system instead of the larger motor and maybe come back and revisit that later. Honda and Chevrolet have both done on-track tests of the 2.4-liter V6s that they built, and Honda even did one test with the energy recovery system unit installed. Chevy didn't do that same test, nor did they have immediate plans to test that 2.4-liter engine with a hybrid package on the track. So despite the money, millions reportedly, that has been sunk into the project by both makers, it appears that the larger engine has either been junked or waits. I'm thinking probably waits, because I think this is something that IndyCar really would like to do.
Yeah.
And truth of the matter is, if they can get up to the point where they're rivaling Formula One in horsepower, they have a better argument that some drivers in both Formula One and IndyCar have both made that states that IndyCar drivers should get more consideration, at least as much consideration as Formula 2 drivers when it comes to the number of points they acquire for their F1 super license.
Agreed. But you can take and redesign this 2.2 liter and leave off the hybrid system and make it a 2.4 and still get as much horsepower.
Yeah.
If not more.
We'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with this project. We'll find out.
I don't know either. I'll be interested to see.
Speaking about happening, whatever happened to Tatiana Calderon? 29-year-old Colombian native was signed to AJ Foyt Racing for 2022 to drive a third car in the organization in the road and street course races. But when Rocket didn't pay up, another mortgage company, the ride vanished after 7 of the 12 races. She did get into some Formula 2 races with Team Charouz late in the year, the final 4 races of the year. Could a return to IndyCar be happening? Well, she talked to motorsport.com about that, said she didn't think it was going to happen this year, 2023. Noted, quote, "I definitely enjoyed my time in IndyCar, and I hope I can go back in the future. I feel like I have some unfinished business there, but at the end of the day, it's how much money you can raise from sponsorship that dictates your chances to continue racing. Considering the lack of preparation at the start of the year and the final circumstances of the team, and also the fact that I was running in the team's third car, which wasn't ideal, I think I did a good job. We signed the deal very late, only had 3 test days prior to the first race, and I didn't know any of the tracks except for Mid-Ohio. Physicality of it all was on another level, and the tires are different between road and street courses, and even sometimes in testing. If Firestone shows up with different tires, who knows? As a rookie, it made it really tough." She concluded by saying, quote, "I think the team was satisfied with my progress, but to show people on the outside, you need the results, especially because now more than ever, motorsport is so expensive." So since she got back into Formula 2 late in the year, having previously driven in the series back in 2019, she was asked, "Is that an option?" She said probably not, citing money concerns once again, but added that she might be able to get back into endurance racing. She did some of that in both 2020 and 2021. She raced in LMP2. She also talked about maybe going back to Japan to compete in Super Formula, which she has done in the past as well. We'll have to see what she can do. Again, she's 29 years old, and in the grand scheme of things, that's not old, but in racing terms, that's kind of middle-aged.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if it was me, which it's not, but if it was me, considering that she's now left and went up to Indy NXT, I mean, I'm Tatiana. I would partner up with Bruce. I mean, whatever the Jenner is now. Partner up with Jenner
Let's go
Racing.
Jenner Racing. Yeah, let's do it that way.
Jenner Racing.
Sure.
Partner up with them and get back in and get your feet wet.
There you go. Knock yourself out.
Settle yourself down. Get back in. Go with it.
Sure. Chip Ganassi Racing has signed a long-term extension with the American Legion to continue partnering on the unreleased for an unreleased number of years. For this coming year, 2023, they're going to be featured on the number 10, driven by Alex Palou, and then after that, we'll have to figure it out because Alex Palou is gone after this year. Obviously, he's going to McLaren. Expect the Legion colors and logo to adorn Marcus Ericsson's car also, and also the Indy NXT entry of Kiffin Simpson for multiple races. To celebrate the partnership, the team and the American Legion are working together to launch what they're calling, quote, 10 days of hashtag Vets Giving with the American Legion. It actually started on Monday of this week. A new auction revealed each and every day of the 10 days, raising funds for vets in need. All the money will go to that end. It's a great deal, so get the chance to check it out if you happen to be somebody on Twitter. I'm not. Andretti Global, parent company of Andretti Autosport, have announced that they have broken ground on their new global headquarters in Fishers, Indiana. It's a suburb of Indianapolis. The facility will cover 575,000 square feet. It will not only serve as the race shop for all the Andretti race teams, but their tech center as well. And they promise, with a wink and a smile, there's room enough for Formula One as well. I don't doubt that.
No.
This place is humongous.
I went by their shop in Zionsville
Mm-hmm.
and found it. It's already big.
And this is bigger.
And then I found the land over and I went through Fishers and saw the land where it's going to be at. Oof.
Yeah. They're preparing for the future. We'll see where it goes. What about the double? Could that happen this coming year? We'll let you know about it. And plus, we'll get into some Formula One news when we come back. One more segment to go. Let's see how much we can get to right here as the finish line is approaching very, very quickly right here on the Championship Racing Network.
We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. And a couple of drivers who this offseason have expressed some sincere interest in doing that double, running the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. Now, Kurt Busch was the last driver to do that, but that was back in 2014. His brother Kyle, along with the other Kyle Larson, have both said that they would like to do it. This year, however, seems to be a long shot. There just aren't that many cars available. That's the problem. Interest might be there. Cars is another question. You think about it, Roger Penske actually is thinking that Jimmy Johnson's set to try it with Chip Ganassi Racing in IndyCar, but that's no guarantee either. I guess we'll find out.
We'll see.
And then if you've been waiting for the chance, and I know IndyCar has, to showcase that particular series, kind of along the lines that Netflix has done with Formula One and Drive to Survive with that particular series, well, for fans of IndyCar, you're about to get your chance, and you actually won't need a streaming service to check it out initially.
Sweet.
6-part event series entitled 100 Days of Indy will air on the CW network in the spring. It's going to follow the teams and the drivers through the final 100 days leading up to the Indy 500, which will happen on May the 28th. It's set to be produced by Vice Media, along with Penske Entertainment. It'll be directed by Patrick Dimon, who has an Emmy for his camera work on an HBO documentary. Each episode will air first on the CW network, then re-air on the cable channel Vice, and at some point in time will probably find its way to streaming. Mark the first sports programming for the CW since their majority stake was bought out by Nexstar Media Group. That happened just recently. CW needs something. And for a while, it looked like they might have had it because they were working with the DC Cinematic Universe, and I say that loosely because unlike Marvel, which has tied in their TV and the movies, DC has kept the TV series over here and the movie series way over there.
Right.
They're not connected in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And now that universe seems to kind of be wrapping up. They have canceled a few, and the other some of the other shows have left. I think the only one left, there are only 2, maybe 3 left. And the most notable of those is The Flash, and that is about to end. They're coming up on their last season. So they're generally the 5th highest rated network behind in alphabetical order. ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. So we'll have to see whether this helps them in their fortunes. We turn to the Formula One world, where some sad news came out with the passing of Patrick Tambay this past weekend. June 25th, 1949 is when he was born. He would end up driving for some of the best teams in Formula One in a career spanning from 1977 to 1986. In those 10 years, Tambay drove for McLaren, Ferrari, Renault, and Team Haas, not related to the current Haas F1 team. Claimed 2 wins. His best points finish was 4th. That was in 1983 when he was driving for Scuderia Ferrari. Born in Paris, France, worked his way up through the Formula One feeder series, got to Formula 2 in 1974, but kept his driving skills sharp by also running in the SCCA Continental Championship in Europe. Ran some Can-Am, ran the 24 Hours Le Mans 4 times, and a whole lot more, really, before he officially retired in 2006. Tambay passed away at his home in France, according to the French news agency AFP last Sunday, reportedly suffering from Parkinson's disease and diabetes. Patrick Tambay was 73 years old. In other news, the series has set up the schedule for the sprint races next year. They're going to go up from 3 the past 2 years to a planned 6. I say planned because, let's face it, all these things tend to be kind of fluid when it comes to how things go. The first of the planned races will be held in Baku, Azerbaijan. Then they go to Austria, where the first of a trio of 2022 sprints was. From there, the sprint races will go to Spa in Belgium. And then, for the first time ever, a sprint race here in the United States at Circuit of the Americas. Then Brazil, then to Qatar. This is the first time, again, that one will be held in the United States, despite the COTA race bringing in the most people for their race weekend over the past few years, more than any other Formula One stop. So it's about time they came to it. Formula One has also, or the FIA, I should say, has also given and taken away from the teams regarding those 6 sprint races. For the sprint races, there's kind of a separate budget, which is considered to be above the base spending cap to allow the teams to run these half-dozen races. The budget for 2023 is going to double what it had been, so twice the $150,000 allowance for each race and the $100,000 accident damage that might be sustained. That could increase on a case-by-case basis depending on how bad the damage is, so you could actually appeal, I guess, and get more.
Better known as the Christian Horner rule.
Teams will now get an extra $300,000 per race. Accident damage, though, they say, probably not going to be adjusted up, so don't get your hopes up. You can appeal, but don't expect to get it. All of this is well short of the extra $5 million requested by the teams for the sprints as a whole. In addition, the FIA announced that they're going to drop the COVID vaccine mandate for 2023. Those working in so-called high-density areas have been required to get their COVID vaccination since 2020 through last year, but that's set to change. They say it'll still be urged, but it won't be a requirement. You don't have to be a card-carrying, here's my vaccination situation anymore.
So they were requesting $5 million extra for an extra 25 laps.
Yeah.
Insane.
I agree. Worldwide, most countries have kind of gone along that way, the exception obviously being China. Most people realize now that COVID's kind of a fact of life and have lifted the restrictions on entering and or leaving the country or requiring proof of vaccination. That said, a COVID positive test still will result in a person not being allowed to be at the race that particular weekend, and that does, of course, include the drivers. Formula One announced this week they haven't extended their deal with the race promoters for the Dutch Grand Prix. That'll keep that race on the schedule through at least 2025 at Zandvoort. Thank you. Love that track. They returned to the reworked course for the 2021 season, an initial 3-year deal. But then you get native Max Verstappen driving in a highly competitive car, so it became a sellout quickly, as it was in 2022. Now you got a second Dutch driver, Nick de Vries, racing this coming season, running for Red Bull's sister organization, AlphaTauri, so it seemed natural to extend that out. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said, quote, the Dutch Grand Prix has quickly established itself on the calendar as a fan favorite. Sold-out events the last 2 years have raised the bar, so we're delighted to extend our relationship with them. Promoters of the race reported that the race for 2023, if you wanted to go, tough. It's already sold out. Yikes. I'd say extending it was a good call.
That's a great call.
As we noted last week, Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto has resigned effective December 31st. So what's next? Well, Ferrari has not figured it out. As for Binotto, despite some rumors that have been floating around in Formula One circles, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff insists Mercedes ain't going to be hiring him, noting it likely would be pretty hard to work with him. As for that situation, Wolff said, quote, I think there's too much porcelain broken between us over the last few years to say that this would be possible. With the other teams, I can't say. Mattia and I had our moments. It's not secret over the many years, but we consolidated that in 2022. We are in a much better place, but it was always clear that he was under tremendous pressure. So apparently they can get along somewhat, but probably not seeing each other in the hallways every day, I guess is what he's trying to say.
Probably not, but you know, if I'm Toto here, you got the opportunity to hire somebody that could make your team even stronger.
Yeah.
And you're not.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I've said this on many, many occasions, and I've been in a position where I have hired, and I would much rather hire people that are smart and maybe even smarter than me surrounding me than hiring dumb people to try and make myself look good. Because here's the thing, in the long run, the dumber the person that you hire, the worse you look, because they can't do the job no matter how much you train them.
For sure.
So, yeah, it is kind of baffling to me, but hey, Wolff has shut the door on this, so we'll see.
I mean, you're leaving Helmut Marko and Christian Horner with the opportunity to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
Hire him, put him at AlphaTauri.
Sure.
And you think Red Bull's lethal now?
Yeah. And I said this before, and I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. If Gene Haas and Gunther Steiner aren't ringing the phone to Mattia Binotto to bring him over, they're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this
is a man that worked for the organization that you're affiliated with.
And you don't want to. Is Gunther so power trip heavy he doesn't want to give that up?
I don't believe that.
I don't either. But if I'm Gene, hey, buddy, what do you take?
Come on. What's it going to take? Let's come on over. Let's pair up.
Fly you to Kannapolis tomorrow.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Also from last week, we explained how drivers and numbers are connected through the driver's career. And for those who retire, that number remains theirs for 2 years after their last race. So it makes several numbers unavailable. So that leaves Oscar Piastri. What number does he choose? What number does he choose? Well, he chose 81. Unusual number. Why the number 81? He said this, quote, 81 was the number I had in karting. But then he added with a smirk that the story behind it was actually kind of boring. I'm not going to get into it. He'll become the first Formula One driver ever to run that number in competition. 81. All right, then.
Wow. Okay.
Despite the fact that they won't officially join the Formula One grid until 2026, Audi's already part of the Formula One grid if you either have or get the official Formula One video game from Codemasters and EA Sports. When they announced that they were joining Formula One as co-owners of the Sauber team, Audi unveiled a show car with a red, black, and gray color scheme. It's likely not going to be the final look, but EA Sports decided to include that look of that show car in the video game as part of their Podium Pass Series 4 VIP tier. Catch all that? It's available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC versions. Paul Geel of Codemasters, working with EA on the game, said, quote, "We are excited to deliver the stunning launch livery, paint scheme, to EA Sports F1 players as part of the Podium Pass Series 4 tier." It's a mouthful. It allows Audi to establish itself as a title contender in the virtual world ahead of its debut in 2026. So there you go.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole Bernie Ecclestone soap opera. For a long time, Bernie Ecclestone was at the rudder of Formula One. He was a presence for over 4 decades. But in 2017, he up and sold the commercial rights to the current series commercial rights holders, Liberty Media. Ecclestone is still kicking, though. He's 92, still very active, sometimes as controversial as ever. If you'd like to know more, keep an eye out on a streaming platform. We don't know which one yet. For a docuseries about him that's set to drop on Christmas Day, 8 episodes in all, to be entitled simply Lucky. The first episodes are going to deal not only with him, but Formula One and their safety situation, or lack thereof, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and Ecclestone's part in pushing for safety as his life and the series heads into the 1980s, and as Ecclestone gained control of the series. We know this: Discovery Plus will carry it in the United Kingdom, the UK, Britain, Ireland, Scotland. But at this time, who gets it for the U.S. audiences is not yet known. One would think, if they got it in England or the UK, Discovery Plus would be the platform here, but there ain't no guarantees.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Yep.
And then to the Formula E cousins, the all-electric Formula E. First of all, their website has changed, including the font for the topics and the headlines.
Shocker.
My quick review? Yeah, it's different from the body and all that kind of stuff. It's brighter. It's very bright. Very white background.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately for them, to me at least, it's kind of a swing and miss. It's the font that they used. It makes it a little bit harder to read. You do get used to it after a while, but to me, the previous site was much easier to read, if not necessarily navigate. But hey, they made their choice. That review aside, Formula E has gotten one hole in their 2023 schedule filled, and they're going to continue to come to the United States, just as they have each and every year since the inception of the series, save for the stupid COVID interruption of 2020. Long Beach was the first host of the all-electric series. Then they went to Miami Beach. The last few years have all been in New York City, but they couldn't go back to New York City for 2023 because there's planned construction in and around the site where they've been holding that Big Apple street race course. So instead, they had to figure out someplace else to go. Now, you and I were kind of hoping they might come to Barber. Then there's Miami, but that's around a stadium, so that's kind of iffy. How about going back to Long Beach? We thought about that. Yeah, no, and no. They are going back out west to Portland, Oregon, one of Indycar's stops. This will be round 12 of the planned races in 2023, 16 of them in all. It finalizes their schedule, assuming that the FIA and the World Motorsport Council approve all of the new venues, which they still have to do. Portland, they still have to approve India, South Africa, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, Sao Paulo, Brazil is a modified version of where Formula One races. I think that's all but done. South Africa is working on getting that Formula One race, so I imagine that's all but done. India and Portland. Indycar runs on Portland. That means it's what? Level 2?
Grade 2.
So it's a grade 2. I would imagine they probably won't have too much of a problem running Formula E there.
I don't understand why, if they would think that Formula E would have to be grade 1. But
Formula One's really the only one that they insist that the tracks need to be grade 1.
yeah. But Portland, I could find 525,600 better road courses than Portland.
Portland. That's the one.
You've got a world-class facility sitting less than 40 miles from here.
Yeah. which is same grade. Same grade. I
It's
don't know.
probably at the top of the grade 2 tracks on the verge of going to grade 1.
Yeah. I don't know.
Give me a break.
In addition to that, a race that was on the 2022 schedule, Seoul, South Korea, is actually off the 2023 slate due to construction of the facilities used. The plan is to return to that venue in 2024. But just in case, series officials and race promoters are working with officials in Seoul to find a proper alternative just in case. So, yeah, 16 races for 2023 set. Seoul ran in 2022, off this coming year. They hope to be back in 2024. Next week, we'll deal with the finalizing of team lineups and, oh, by the way, a whole heck, and I mean a whole heck of a lot, of paint scheme unveilings. Plus, we still got some basic general racing news to deal with. We'll get to all of that next week. Hey, we're on a 2-hour time limit. What do you want? We can only get to so much.
Yep.
But we enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it. Producer John set to be back next week. We may or may not be broadcasting live on location. We don't know yet.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll let you know. In the meantime, have a great week. Be careful out there. If you're going shopping, wading into the group, have patience. Maybe a lot of it. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot.
It will take a ton.
Yeah. But please do so. And we'll talk to you next week. On behalf of producer John Myers, Matt Nicholson, Steve West here saying thank you very much for checking us out right here on the Championship Racing Network.
See ya.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
WDNG